Hey everybody, Robert with RC Archery. You're watching Tuesday's Tip of the Week number 109. In this week's video, we're going to be going into some fine tuning that we can do to our bows in order to make them aim better and react better when the shot breaks for us in our shooting style. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to put a link down in the description of this video. There is a podcast that Bow Junkie did recently with Bodie Turner that helped remind me of an area that I've completely forgotten about, which is kind of mind-blowing because I used to spend a ton of time on this. But when you take time off and you come back into the sport and then have an injury and take more time off and come back into, I don't know, there's a lot of time in between that just, I didn't remember to do this for some reason. But what Bodie talked about in there is a lot of the times people spend a ton of time working on themselves and changing their shot styles and their different things they're doing, but they're not actually working on their equipment and making it work better for us. So one thing that I feel like is super important is pick your shot style based off of what is most repeatable and easiest for you to do mentally as well. So, being at a high level, one shot to the next. And then let's take this bow, which is a machine and a tool for us, and let's make it work better for that style. So that's what we're going to be going over today. We're going to be talking about some micro adjustments on draw length, the way that I do it, some difference on cam timing and what to see, feel, and expect from that, and then some fine tuning on the stabilizers. All right, the first thing that I want to talk about today is fine tuning your draw length. And by fine tuning our draw length, I don't mean in half-inch increments or even really quarter-inch increments. I mean trying to find that last little bit of draw length, more so for your target shooters that watch my channel, but that last little section of draw length that really makes the difference on how we're holding on target. So depending on your skill level, what you're looking at, this can be 1/8 inch, 16ths, or even smaller adjustments to just get that feel and fitment right for you. So a couple things that I do. One, for really, really micro adjustments, or even if I want to do some tiller tuning and some different things going on, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to mark these limb pockets. I usually just use a pencil. You can use a marker or whatever you want to do, but I'm going to mark the bolt and the limb pocket so that I have a steady place to measure off of. And the reason I do that is because you can actually micro adjust our draw length by taking the limbs and taking some twist out by maybe doing like quarter twist out, half twist out, one twist, less than that, whatever you may do out of both limbs equally. That's going to make the draw length a little bit longer. Or if you're not bottomed out on your limbs, you can actually put the twist in some increment back in, and that's going to micro adjust the draw length shorter. It's also something I use because of tiller tuning, D-loop height when I do some different measurements, different things like that. So always recommend doing that. That is the first one. The second thing that you can do to help you alleviate having to worry about your peep and messing with your string is actually using your cables. Now keep in mind, using our cables will affect your let off and it's going to affect your holding weight. So we're not doing big, huge swings with this, but again, we're looking at little tiny adjustments with these to make micro adjustments in our draw length. So for example, when I am adjusting my cables here, when I was going through this recently, I found that on this bow particularly, that I could do 2 twists out on the top and the bottom cam on these cables, and that was giving me a 1/16 of an inch draw length change. So you can micro adjust these and change these. I didn't see a huge amount in holding weight difference or let off difference by doing that. It was just a smaller amount, but it did help me when I'm looking for an overall fitment and feel between my loop and the bow and how I am holding on target as I execute my shot. So whether you like to expand through a shot or just hold firm on the back wall, you're looking for a little bit more stable sight picture. Me personally, I don't mind a busier sight picture where it's a little faster and it keeps in the middle. If it leaves the middle, it likes to get back a little quicker. That's what I prefer. I run a lighter bow setup too for that same reason. But you may be different. You may want it to be really slow and park in the middle. So you're looking for little different things there. A little bit slower, parking in the middle. You may want it a little bit longer overall, but then for me, I like it a little bit shorter overall and give me some room to open up. All right, the next thing that we're going to look at and talk about is our cam timing. Now, cam timing is something a lot of people overlook in regards to helping you hold better on target and get a better shot reaction. A lot of people feel like, especially with bows that have a binary cam system, that they need to have both cams hitting at exactly the same time, and they're doing that for tuning purposes and aeroflight and nock travel. But I can tell you that that is, to a lot of degree, a myth on nock travel, because depending on where you have your loop, up on the string or lower on the string, where the center point is, riser geometry, how evenly weighted your top set of limbs versus your bottom set of limbs are, every bow is so much different that a lot of the times actually having both cams sit together is messing up your nock travel versus fixing it. But for me, I am actually using, when my cams are hitting the stops, and creating a variance in that sometimes for my hold on target and for the back wall feel that I am looking for in order to expand and shoot my shot that I like to use. So I primarily, especially on a target bow, I am looking at aim first, hold on target first, like through my shot execution, the reaction of the bow, and then I will tune from there, and I will get my tune right depending on what I need to do. So if we have this bow set up where the cams are hitting 100% even, that's going to give us a very firm back wall usually on some bows, but it can give us a very weak and spongy back wall on other bows. So keep that in mind. You may want to have your bottom cam hit a little bit ahead of your top cam, or your top cam hit a little bit ahead of your bottom cam to firm up that wall or give you some give for your shot. That's something that you can play around with on your bow and your setup and try to figure out which one you like and what you need to do. Now, you can also play with this in regards to having a bow that wants to dip or bob on target, or maybe have a tendency to want to settle and lower down if you're pulling through your shot. In that situation, you may want to have the bottom cam hitting first. You may want to have the top cam hitting first, depending on the bow and where your loop height is, to help you actually pull the bow up and raise it up on target, essentially, and keep yourself in the middle while you're expanding and pulling through that shot, or while you're on that back wall. All right, and the last thing we're going to talk about today is stabilizer adjustments. Now, if you like the content that you're seeing here on this channel, I have a members portion of this channel where you get extra content week to week. For instance, in this week's video, we're actually going to go a little bit deeper than just the weighting of the bars and how we are looking at our aim, and then start matching that with holding weight and the way that our mass weight of the bow is affecting our shot style. So that's going to be this week's video. Some weeks we go over different professional archers' form and shot. Sometimes it's a deep dive on maybe a little extra content that we just talked about in the Tuesday Tip of the Week video. There's members questions, there's access to me for free coaching, lots of things that you can get out of that. So if you want to be a member of this channel and be part of this Archery Vision club or portion that I'm putting together and that we are all a part of, there's some information down below in the description of this video for you to see the packages, or you can click the join button next to the subscribe button on this channel, and it will also take you to that same page and give you some info. But today we're going to talk about stabilizers. So when we're setting up our stabilizers for fine tuning the way that the bow aims on target and the way that it reacts at the shot, everybody's going to need something a little bit different. For me, I like to be a little bit more aggressive on the back wall, but not as much as others. So for me, what I'm looking for is, overall, I know that I need a bow that's going to be weighted a little bit front heavy to where it just wants to tilt forward, but I don't have so much front weight on the bow that when I shoot my shot, it's just diving forward and dipping down. I don't pull super, super hard into the back wall. I don't have a ton of holding weight, and I don't have a really low let-off percentage, but that's what works for me personally. For you, you need to find that as well. One thing you can do for micro adjusting on your draw length, or I'm sorry, on your stabilizers based off of what you're seeing on shot execution, is looking at the weights, and then also the angle of the bars and the positioning of the bars. Now, you'll notice here on my bow that I actually have my front bar and my back bar on the same plane, all hooked up here on the front of the bow. every bow is going to react a little bit differently. You see some archers will run their back bar off a lower mount on the back, and that's going to make the bow feel different and react different on the shot. So definitely try that out depending on who you are and what you're looking for. It definitely feels, it lowers the center of gravity and it changes the plane that the weights are on. So it does feel different. For me, it felt like it wanted to pull my hand down a little bit versus like having this setup. But I will say with this setup, it does feel a little bit more balanced. So you do have to be a little bit more careful. Now, outdoors in the wind, I may need something completely different. I primarily shoot indoors, especially right now. This feels really good for me. One thing that you can do besides just looking at the weights on your stabilizers is actually looking at some angles here. Now you can see on this front bar, I have an angle down. This is actually an 8-degree down from Shrewd that is part of their RevX system or Rev1X system here that they have for their bars. This downward angle helps me when I get to full draw and I'm banging on the stops at full draw and you get a little bit of wiggle left and right on target. This will help lessen that wiggle and slow it down a lot sooner. Now that's pretty common for most archers, and a lot of people say that and a lot of people look at that, but it also takes away some leverage and it changes the way the bow feels too versus having a bar that runs straight out. So try both, but generally speaking, if you only want to buy one type of quick disconnect or something, I recommend having a downward angle. 5 degrees, 8 degrees, 10 degrees, you know, something like that, nothing extreme. The back bar is the same way. So if we're looking at this from a standpoint of distance from center of the riser back for leverage, when this bar is even and level, it's got a longer portion of working area away from the riser. It acts a little bit heavier, but if you start dropping this bar down because the angle it creates, it's creating a circle. So you're actually bringing it in a little bit closer to the riser as you lower this rear bar. In essence, it makes it feel a little bit lighter. So if you're noticing that as you pull through your shot, the bow is wanting to maybe come up out of the top of the target and you're having some issues with that, you can try lowering that rear bar a little bit, and that will fine tune the reaction you're getting to maybe try to keep you circled in the middle a little bit better. So that is some things that you can look at beyond just changing your weights and just fine tuning the amount of weights that you have on the bow. If you need a full setup guide for stabilizers, I will put that here in this video somewhere, wherever it goes, and you can check that out too. It'll give you a step-by-step process on how generally most people will see to set up their bars, whether you run a short bar system on a hunting setup or a hunter class setup, or these longer bars like you do on a target bow. As always, guys, thanks for watching this video today. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, which it looks like about 40–50% of you are not, think about subscribing. There's tons of content on this channel. I've been doing this for years. We have more than just the Tuesdays Tip of the Weeks. We have some other videos as well. So definitely a lot of info there that you can get for archery, whether it's from me personally or other people that I've compiled together over the years. If you'd like to be a member of the channel, there's some info down below, but if you'd like to just reach out to me for coaching, you have that option too. My email is also in the description of this video, and I am happy to help you any way we can. I want to continue the trend that we've been doing on the last couple of videos. If you are still watching to this point, comment down below Archery Vision. Let me know that you're seeing this all the way to the end of the video. I greatly appreciate the members, viewers, people that are doing that. It helps with the algorithm and it helps me be able to get this video out to more people. So make sure you like this video, and thank you again for watching. I'll see you soon.